As a deer hunter, I want to know all I can about America's favorite big game animal. That's why I became a deer farmer. Without deer farms, we lose our greatest resource for research and whitetail management. With them, we gain more knowledge than ever before. Join me as we discover the truth about whitetails and meet those who work every day to preserve this great species for future generations. My name is Keith Warren, and this is Deer and Wildlife Stories. Hey everybody, welcome to the show and to Folsom, Louisiana, where today we're at Boom Whitetails. Like most deer farms, this is a family-run operation, and on today's show, we'll introduce you to the family. And although Boom Whitetails has not been in the deer farming business very long, they are very profitable.
To be a deer farmer doesn't mean you have to have a lot of property. You can start with as little as 1 acre. Build you a pen, put you a couple of deer in there, have a couple of babies, and in 2 years, you can turn around and sell those. What you're seeing on today's show is beautiful. This place is beautiful. The deer are beautiful and the farm's beautiful, but the people are beautiful. It would not be possible without Lance. Lance is a special type of person. I can't imagine being in this family's shoes. Lance had an accident years ago and it left him to the point that he hadn't been able to really participate in anything except he can sit back and enjoy. He can watch what's going on this farm and it brings him joy. And for me, it kind of chokes me up to realize that I couldn't imagine being in Lance's position, or I couldn't imagine being in this family's position. But the cool thing about it is the white-tailed deer are magical animals. They do something within people's hearts, and they bring a lot of joy to a lot of people.
Lance is my son, and 31 years ago, he was injured at work. He absorbed toxic chemicals, and it left him mentally and physically challenged, and it's really been a hard time for us and him. And I guess you say a fluke when we came across something that we thought that he would be able to enjoy. He was on a hunt and he was able to kill a deer, and the people that owned the property, we sat and talked to them, and then we came home and we kind of just threw everything out there and decided it's something that we could all do and something that he would enjoy and something that my grandsons would be able to enjoy and grow up learning and hopefully be able to pass it on.
Lance and Nico are a true blessing. They were our little miracles in a way, and they love being out here on the farm. They love growing up out here. They love having their friends, their relatives come out, stay with them. They love being a part of what goes on. During the summer, when they're not in school, they work. They're on the lawnmower, they're on the weed eater, they're helping feed the deer. During fawning season, they're helping tag deer. When it comes to bottle raising, if it turns out that we have to pull one out and bottle feed it, then they're on top of that, and that's just part of the responsibility that they have of being in this family and being part of the deer farm.
The boys, well, the boys are they're knuckleheads. What can I say? They're my friends. He got Lance and Nicholas, and they're twins. And years ago when I came out here, I mean, they're always smiling. Now, Lance, he's a little bit more serious than Nicholas. Lance is like the CEO of the bunch, you know, but Nicholas, he's always in for a good time. So when I hang around with these guys, whether it's here on the deer farm or whether it's eating crawfish, I always enjoy it. And I look at them and I tell people at this point, you know, the boys are really cute. They're fun to be around. About another couple of years, you'll want to kill them. Deer and Wildlife Stories is brought to you by Record Rack Deer and Elk Feeds, the North American Deer Farmers Association, Advanced Deer Genetics,
Beam Fence Company, New Dart, Divine Genetics, North American Deer Registry, Protect the Harvest, Headgear LLC, Newport Laboratories, Superior Milk Replacer, and Dr. Ray Favero's Whitetail Genetics. Viewer feedback is presented by Protect the Harvest, Protect the Hunt.
All right, this one comes to me from a viewer by the name of Mary Ann. She says, I love watching deer and wildlife stories online and wondering, do you ever get tired of being on a deer farm? Are you kidding me? Tired of being on a deer farm? Never. And I don't know of a deer farmer one that gets tired of being on a deer farm. You may get tired, you may need to take a nap or go to bed for the night, but every single morning you wake up and you just can't wait to spend time on a deer farm. Marianne, that's a great question. If you've got any questions or comments about the show, go ahead and post them below and I'll be happy to get right back with you.
Well, originally when we got started, we had to, everybody wants to bottle feed, and we did that for the first couple of years. And that got to be a lot of work. And I don't have enough staff here to keep up with that, so we quit doing that and we let the moms take care of them. That seems to work a whole lot better. And Lance, my son Lance, was begging, wanting a buck. He wanted to raise a buck this year. He wanted to bottle feed one, and I kept saying no, 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 no. Well, God fixed it where he got to raise one. We had a mom that rejected a little buck fawn, and I had too much in him to just let him sit out there and wait on her, so we went and got him, and that became Lance's responsibility. He stayed with it all summer long. And he did a good job. The buck is fine, he's big, he's healthy. And today's his last bottle.
You know, when the boys are around early in the morning before they go to school, they visit the pens, they check on the deer, and they do their morning chores.
The boys growing up here, they're having to learn responsibility. They're just things that you have to do as part of a family. And being part of the deer farm, getting up, feeding babies, put feed out, those sorts of things, that's just part of it. And we're hoping to instill a good work ethic for them. We're hoping that at some point they'll branch out from working for the family to going to work for somebody else.
You have done one heck of a job, man. I mean,
Thank
look
you.
at them.
Thank you.
You know, I remember 2 years ago I was out here and I was talking to you about, because the deer were pretty then, but they're bigger now. They're still beautiful, but they're bigger. And you were telling me that you were focusing on really Texas-style genetics because that's what your market was really after. Tell everybody about that. I mean, look at these deer, folks.
They're beautiful, and they're consistent. The bloodline is consistent with giving us clean 2-year-old typical bucks.
And that's the market you're after, right?
That's the market we're after. We can get it a class 150 class to 170 class buck at 2-year-old, clean. You might have a kicker here or there, but they love it. And I get calls all the time. These are all sold. The guy that bought these wants all my yearlings.
Well, it's easy to see why. I mean, when you start looking at deer like this, on our show, I mean, we travel all over from north to south and east to west, and we see a lot of deer. But the industry is going now more typical than ever before.
Yes, sir.
And so, how is business here in Louisiana?
I can't speak for everybody, but it's been good for me. We changed the rules here in Louisiana on getting started in a hunt preserve, and that really made my business good because now you have a lot of new ones opening up and they need to stock them.
And see, they're stocking these deer like this. They're not going to take these deer and just buy them and put them in there and kill them. That's not going to happen. They want to grow these deer up. They want these deer to breed. They want this type of genetic. There's people that have got deer that are going to score better than these deer. But in reality, the hunter, that's what they want. The big, clean, typical genetics.
This guy bought them at 2 years old. He has no plans to hunt them this year. He's going to turn them loose, let them breed the does that are in there.
Well, I want to point something out too. You may be thinking about, why would somebody want to do that? Why would somebody want to buy deer like this and then introduce new genetics? And I want to talk about that simply because when you think about hunting, hunters being humans, you're going to want to shoot the biggest thing you can shoot.
And in reality, you're shooting the best genetics out. Hunters shoot the biggest out every year, leaving the inferior genetics to do the breeding. And that's where deer farming comes in. That's where Boom Whitetails comes in, because they can help you. If you've got a place in Louisiana and you're looking to stock your place with great typical genetics, FJ Caminita's got to contact. Give them a telephone number.
It's 985-373-1706. That's my cell number.
And give them a call. You know, it is right now, it's the first week of September. The deer just about done growing. I mean, these guys right here, they look great, just about done growing. The does, you're fixing to sort some fawns off their mamas right now, aren't you?
That's correct. We did some this morning, and later in the week, we'll start pulling a few more in and taking the fawns off, wean them, and start getting ready for the next round of breeding.
Let's go see some yearlings.
All right.
Closed captioning provided by Keith Warren's Texas Hidden Springs Ranch. Now it's time for the Beam Fence Minute.
I'm Mark Beam from Beam Fence Company. Today I'd like to talk to you about how I build a corner and a gate post for game fence. When I build a corner or put in a gate, I like to use a little bit bigger post. Today I'm going to be using some 3-inch posts. They're going to be 14 foot 6 inches long, and I'm going to drive them 6 foot in the ground. I'm going to put a slight angle on them, so when I pull the wire, it'll pull them a little bit straight. If I were to put the post in straight and pull the wire, I'm going to bend the post off center. We put a little bit of angle on it and try to balance it up so it's square when we're done pulling the wire. If you'd like more information about my company, you can go to beamfence.com.
All right, here we've got 1-year-olds, right?
Yes, sir.
They're beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I'm looking at, they all have got pretty shape to them.
Yes, sir.
Nice typical look.
Nice typical look, clean. They surprised me because, as you and I talked, my AI didn't go so well. And most of these deer were born really late in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to turn out looking like they did I'm like way more than happy about that.
Well, you ought to be way more than happy. I mean, these deer, I would assume if most of these are not AI babies, then because AI did not go well for you.
That's correct.
Then they're live cover, and they're probably out of Pablo too, huh?
Every one of them.
Really?
Every one of them.
Well, Pablo 2, we're going to show you Pablo 2 here in a little bit. I mean, he's a legend, especially over here in Louisiana. He is a legend, and he is clearly getting the job done, and he throws pretty deer. That's the deal. And as we look at these bucks, I'm going to point something out. When you look at deer like this, and you look at deer like the 2-year-olds that we showed you just a little bit ago, there is a market that will not quit here in Louisiana for deer like that. Am I right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the market will not quit. There are people that are literally lined up. FJ could sell every single deer on the farm tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I mean, so is business good?
Business is good.
The business is great.
Business is great.
It's great. The deer business is absolutely over the top here in Louisiana. And so what I want to encourage people, if you're from Louisiana and you're interested in deer farming, okay, it's a very lucrative business, and it's fun. It's great for the family. Yep. It's something if you've if you've had cattle on your piece of property. Tiny said she's had cattle here.
We had cattle.
Okay, and so if cattle people can make a whole lot of money, a whole lot easier, in my opinion, by raising whitetail deer. If somebody wants more information on coming out here to Boom Whitetails, it's only about 50 miles north of New Orleans. Give them a phone number.
985-373-1706. Or they can go to www.boomwhitetails.com.
And what you're going to find is when you come out here, you're going to find big, spacious buck pens. Why are they so big?
Well, we had an issue with some overcrowding in the smaller pens, and last year we had some yearlings that broke some antlers. So when the pond drained, that gave us an opportunity to close in all this property and put the bucks out here. They have lots of room. They're not in each other's way. They're more relaxed, they're not stressed, and it's just been a much better situation for them.
Well, and I can tell the stress level on the deer. These deer, they're healthy, they're fed well. I know you're feeding Record Rack.
Yes, sir.
And they're fed well, and they are in good shape. I mean, that little guy right there, he's a 10-pointer. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at him. That is a beautiful 10-point buck. Yep. And there is no telling
what he's going to grow into next year. Every one of these deer, they're a Pablo 2 buck. Every one of them has the potential to really outdo their daddy.
Yes.
And that's the truth.
Every one of them.
Okay, and so any one of them that you're looking at in this pen could be the next big one. So I don't know, if I was a bet man, I'd say I'm not going to bet.
I'm not either. That's why I wouldn't sell them to that guy. I want to see what they're going to do.
Hell of a job.
Thank you, sir.
Hell of a job. I'm proud of you.
Yes.
FJ has not been breeding deer very long. Tell him how many years?
4 years.
4 years. And look what he's got. And it's brought the family a little bit closer together too, hasn't it?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And the
Absolutely.
boys, when I was here last time, they were this big, now they're this big,
Yeah.
and they're still knuckleheads.
Still knuckleheads and eating a whole lot more than they did back then. Yep. Yep.
And you call them the cowboys.
Cowboys. If you remember the John Wayne movie, The Cowboys, all he could get to help drive his cattle were kids. And they learned a lot on that drive, those kids. These kids are learning a lot here.
You doggone right they are.
And that's my little cowboys, and I'm proud of them.
I'm proud of them too.
They do a fine job here.
If you're ready to get started in deer farming, go to deerandwildlifestories.com and click the Get Started Deer Farming tab.
FJ is retired from his previous occupation, but that doesn't mean that he's quit working at all.
I'm a retired emergency room nurse. I did that for 12, 13 years. And in the emergency room, it's blowing and going all the time. You start something and you have to finish it yesterday because that's the pace in the ER. Deer farming's a whole lot slower pace. You have to have a lot of patience, and patience was never one of my virtues. And God helps me with that a lot here on this deer farm because you have to have patience with everything you do. You can't rush the deer.
You'll notice the pens are big. I mean, much bigger than lots of places that we go to. And I asked FJ, I said, what is his rationale? Why does he want those pens so big, especially for the bucks?
We found that having the bucks in the smaller pens was too much of a stress. They didn't like it. And they'd run into the fence, they'd break antlers. We now put the bucks in the much larger pens, and there's a lot less stress on them. They're a lot more relaxed. They have a lot of room to get around and get away from you, and it just makes a better growing environment for the bucks.
All right, well, there's no doubt in my mind which one is Pablo 2. I mean, look at him. And how old is he now?
He's 8 years old now.
So how long has he been on the farm?
He's been here 3 years.
So you really started, he was your initial breeder buck out here, wasn't he?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I remember coming out here a couple of years ago, and look at him, you can tell he's bashful down there. I mean, he doesn't like the camera at all.
No, he doesn't like, he's not sociable.
I mean, look at him down there. I mean, he's like, he's looking at us. Come on, give us a move now.
That's it.
But I mean, he's pretty, he's clean. Tell us about his pedigree.
He is, his daddy was full-blood Texas, the original Pablo, and on the bottom side is Silver Storm over a Texas doe made of Blue 1 doe. So it's Pablo over Blue 1, and we have Pablo 2, who is 3/4 Texas.
Okay, and clearly 3/4 Texas is doing well out here in Louisiana.
Oh, absolutely, they do real well.
Okay, well, he's not alone in this pen. Tell me who the other one is.
The other one is Boone's TNT.
He was here when I was here last time. He was a baby.
He was a yearling when you came last time. That's right.
Well, look at him. Now, he's kind of got some non-typical stuff going on. What's going on with that? Because out of every deer we've looked at, FJ, they've been clean and pretty, and not that he's not clean and pretty.
He's
just he's got a little stuff going on. What's going on with that?
He's a line-bred black eagle.
That's why.
And that's why. And you know, so I'm using him as a cover buck.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy that wanted the 2-year-old, that bought the 2-year-olds, is also buying him next year.
He couldn't say no, could he?
He couldn't say no to it.
Can you tell why? I'm gonna look at him.
I made him a real good deal, and he couldn't say no.
Okay, talk about these deer as far as their pedigrees. Are they all in the North American Deer Registry?
Yes, sir, every one of them.
So if somebody's gonna buy a deer from you, you can guarantee 100% they're in the North American Deer Registry and what their pedigree is.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. And so as you can see, I mean, Pablo 2 is, he's just as big now as he was 2 years ago, and just as big of a knucklehead. He doesn't want to come up, and I mean, he's going to be down there like that, but that's okay. We can see him really good. But I remember when I was here 2 years ago, he wouldn't give us a good shot of him either.
No, he gets to doing his little 360s and it's time to go.
Yeah, you know, here's the deal. Every deer has their own personality. I mean, think about that. Just like us, people have personality. I mean, Lance has got his personality, you know, Nico's got his personality. We've got our own personalities, and so does every single deer in the pens. And so when you're a deer farmer, you get to learn your deer's personalities. Every day you're out here. All right, so
every minute.
If somebody wants more information on Boom Whitetails, give them a phone number.
985-373-1706, or they can go to www.boomwhitetails.com.
Put her there.
Yes, sir.
Folks, if you have any questions or comments about the show, we'd love to hear from you. If you're watching online, just go ahead and enter your questions down below, and I promise you I'll get back with you. If you're not watching online, I want to let you know that if you go to our website, you can watch our programs 24/7 right there. And let us hear from you. I'm Keith Warren, and you've been watching Deer and Wildlife Stories. Top water or worm? Top water, huh? Yeah. Me too. Top water. Top water gets it every time. I mean, I'll catch them on a worm, but I'd rather catch them on top. Huh? Oh, yeah.